Good morning and welcome to the Monday Morning Weekly Power Up. I am your host, Allison KT, and today I am so glad that you tuned in. Going to talk a bit about work-life balance. And now that we are working from home, everyone, it is very tricky to kind of find that balance. And so I just want to open up that conversation a bit today. But before we dive into the conversation, I just wanted to give a little kind of, my take on work-life balance. I've worked from home for the better part of 2 years, most of that time kind of being my own boss, and other times kind of consulting / working with other people. But from home most of the time. I have found a couple things that work for me that just kind of help with it, and so I wanted to share those with you and just kind of open up some conversation about what kinds of things you're doing to kind of set yourself up for success with work-life balance. And so the first thing that I suggest is really setting the space. Now we actually have like an office, a small office designated in our house. So my spouse and I are able to have like an actual office to go to work from home. But previously I was living in smaller places, didn't have that luxury of having an in-home office. And so what I would do often is light a candle. This is actually the candle that I lit for the last probably 3 months. I go through candles pretty quick because I burn them when I work. And so I need to get a new one because this one, as you can see, is donezo. But I find that having something to kind of trigger to myself, like, okay, it's work time. The candle is lit, or I'm listening to a certain kind of music, or I'm in a certain space. I have a certain scent in the air, we can trigger to ourselves, okay, we're working now. I also really like to set kind of the time around when I'm planning on working and what tasks I want to accomplish in that. Whereas if you're going to the office, you can say like, okay, over the next 8 hours, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to handle things as they come up. When you're working from home, you can take that same approach of, I'm going to set these 8 hours, I'm working. But it is helpful to kind of, just like when you are at work, having tasks that you're knowing what you're doing. So I want to show a little bit of kind of how I do it. I've sort of made my own little something that works for me to track my hours. And so I'm going to show you. And this is what I was using a lot when I was working in office at times and from home at times. And so all of my blue on here is times that I was working from home. And then the not blue is times that I was going into the office. And so you can see here we have most weeks. Oh yeah, this was a really tricky week because there was some travel involved. But I just want to show that I kind of block off. So even if I'm working from home, Monday working 6 hours from home, I sort of block off like, okay, I'm going to start that at 11. I'm going to focus on Evolve stuff until 2. And I even take it into looking at my hours from home. So Monday in the 11 to 2 block, my goals for that are these right here. And so then it's helpful to kind of set this up on Monday morning because then when I sit down to work, I can very clearly say like, okay, I know what I want to accomplish. So that's what I use. And if you are interested in, making something like that for yourself, I highly recommend it. I do actually have kind of a little weekly goal scheduler that is a Google document or a Google Sheets that you can just put into your Google Drive and use to kind of set up. So let me know if you want that. Send me an email at hello@allisonkt.com. That would be great, and I would be happy to share it with you. But I want to talk about kind of the final piece of work-life balance, which is really the idea of boundaries. And so that is why I like to have, clear boundaries, like I'm in this space, or I'm listening to this music, or I have this candle burning and it smells like this, to kind of trigger to myself like, okay, right now I am working. My brain is on. Sometimes in that period of time, I put my phone on airplane mode, or I mute all notifications that aren't from the team that I'm working with, so I'm not distracted by other things, and then I really dive in. But that kind of helps me then set that clear boundary of like, okay, I'm working. And then when I am not working, I actually have taken to using the screen time on my phone to kind of turn off certain apps after a certain time of day. So I'm not encouraged to, check the email at 9:30 at night. I can kind of shut off and be separate from that. And so I want to talk a little bit about this since we're all in the situation now of working from home. How do we distinguish between the times that we're working and the times that we're not working? I would love to kind of open up that conversation and get discussions, ideas of how you trigger to yourself when you're working and when you're not working. And I'm excited to see where the conversation goes, but let's start from there.